Welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. Today is April 12th, Friday. It is 2024. My name is Keith Eyster. I will be filling in for Stevie today. 1 second here. I still got the overlay on. All right. Should be good to go. Rookie producer here. Rookie producer. I think we're all squared away. We're here to break down a 12-game baseball slate. Here to do that with me is ChiefJustice06. It's Will Priester. How are you doing, Will?
I'm good, man. We've been busy, brother. We were just talking pre-show. My gosh, and we've been busy. And Sunday, it's going to get worse, but it's going to get better after Sunday. I, for one, this is a baseball show. I was kind of tapped out with NBA because, late season NBA isn't like middle, early season. I mean,
it's a grind
lineups
for sure.
Yeah, continuing to shift. I mean, Sunday, and if you've been around long enough, I know you and I have, Keith, you'll probably be building lineups with $5,000 left. Like it's going to be crazy Sunday. I think a lot of guys sitting. So, what a time to be alive! But playoff basketball is our favorite basketball. Rotations are tight. I play so much showdown during the playoffs because everything's so much more predictable. And if I could just get the one bench guy that comes out and gets me 25 fantasy points, on that showdown slate. I'm usually, it's usually a print press. So I'm pretty excited for the playoffs to come here. And it's also MLB season, which is my favorite season. So, which is why we're here to talk about Major League Baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited for the basketball regular season to be coming to an end. Playoffs should be incredible. Like you said, tight rotations. We know we have a lot better idea of what's going to happen compared to what's going on this week in the NBA. But
yeah,
12 games in MLB here for this Friday. Nice big slate for us. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. First game of the evening is the Milwaukee Brewers at the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore minus 118 favorite, a total of 8 in this game. Let's start with the pitching here. Rainout on Thursday for this game. So Peralta pushed back a day. Now he gets Baltimore. Any interest here in Freddie Peralta against the Orioles?
Yeah, for sure. Peralta's shown good stuff this season so far. The strikeout stuff is there right away. So I don't have any reason to try and fade him. One of the things, Keith, and maybe this is just me. I kind of start looking at early season data about 2 or 3 weeks in, not necessarily take it as the Bible per se, but just to get an idea. Okay, where's this person at versus last season versus their historical data, and that gives me an idea of some changes and stuff like that. Last season Peralta was around a 30% K rate. He's trending, around 34% right now, which obviously depending on which teams you face, stuff so forth and so on. My larger point is everything seems to be tracking close enough to the type of pitcher he is. Doesn't seem to have any drastic drop off or any drastic uptick about where he's been. So I trust him here. This is a guy that, once again, 30% K rate last season, sitting at 34% this year. Probably will normalize around 30, but that's still, more than enough for a Reds team. While they started out hot against I think they were playing the Nationals, maybe. Yeah, I think they started out their first series against the Nationals and kind of became the DFS darling for a week. On the season so far, this team is striking out a pretty good deal. And even last season, some of the same bats that were high strikeout bats like Benson, Encarnacion, Strand, Ellie, they're still high strikeout bats. A couple guys in the 20s, but all in all, I think this is a really good spot for Peralta. Didn't mean to overtalk him, but I think he's a good play today.
No, you're good. He's got the Orioles today, though. That the Red Series.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I'm looking at the plate IQ from another.
I do that all
how
the
we
time
have to use it. But yeah, my bad. He is facing the Orioles, but my larger point, I like Peralta. I think the strikeout stuff's still there. He should be fine.
Yeah, it's definitely a tougher spot than against Cincinnati, who he's scheduled to pitch against Thursday, I think. Baltimore, a really young but powerful, patient offense. So tougher spot, but I'm with you on the strikeout upside here for Peralta. He's taken a pretty big jump over the last couple of years. Looks really good to begin the season. Pitch count living in that like 90 range, 92 in his first start, 88 in the last one. So I think we can expect around 90 pitches here.
I watched that last start. He just got into some trouble. Like had he been able to just kind of methodically roll through, he would have closed the inning. But those last couple, he got into some serious trouble, and I think they just elected to go ahead and pull him and bring somebody else in. But if he's cruising, I think he for sure goes 90-95.
Yep, I'm with you there. How about Tyler Wells on the other side?
I'm just okay with Wells. I don't think Wells is anything special, but I'm saying if I build lineups, so let's say I'm building bats first, and I'm left with 7,700. He's not a guy I'm going to fully write off. I definitely think there will be some games this season where Tyler Wells goes for close to 30 fantasy points. It could be today. I don't think it's quite today. I think that's somewhere in the middle of the season, but he's reasonable. So in large field, I don't think I need to write him off. I'm not getting to him in single entry or 3-entry max though.
Yeah, so the strikeout rate has come down a little bit since his move from the bullpen to the rotation. And this is a massive slate. There's a couple of really enticing options here in this mid 7K range. So I'm with you. I don't mind Wells. I wouldn't kick him out of a lineup if I was really chalky elsewhere. And one of the other 7K pitchers is going to be much more popular than him, and I need to differentiate. I'd be fine doing that, but not somebody I'll be seeking out a ton in my lineups. How about the Milwaukee bats against him?
I think the Milwaukee bats are interesting. Like Christian Yelich has actually been fine to start the season. Actually, he's been more than fine. He's actually been really good. He's just rattled off. I mean, when you honestly, Keith, he might be having the hottest start to the season outside of maybe Ozzie Albies, who had a bedwetter today. I mean, he's pretty much double-digit fantasy points every game. Like this is the Christian Yelich we knew and loved in Miami on a bad Miami team, and perhaps he's fully healthy. I like what I've seen from him. So if I don't play the Milwaukee bats as a stack, I for sure want to one-off Yelich in Camden Yards. I think this is a really good spot for him. Once again, I don't mind a small, mini stack of Milwaukee, but if I had to choose one bat, big slate, give me Yelich as a one-off. He's somebody I can't exclude.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. You mentioned the Milwaukee offense has been hot, 120 WRC plus really early in the season, like you mentioned, but I'm with you. I like to start looking at these new stats that we're getting as early as I can to try to find the edge. Wasn't sure what to expect from this Milwaukee offense coming into the year, but if Yelich is right and back to his MVP form, they might really have something here. The other guy I wanted to throw out is Willy Adames. Wells gives up power to both sides of the plate. He's only 4,100 and fills that shortstop position. So I do like Willy Adames. I don't love the Milwaukee stack, but certainly playing a couple of power bats, I am totally fine with. How about the Orioles? Really tough matchup here for them against Peralta.
Yeah, I'm going to fade Baltimore today because of the slate. So I don't feel like this is a spot where I don't think a stack wins it. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, one of these guys could easily get into one, and it's gone. Like, I get that. But in terms of a stack, I don't think Baltimore is it today. And if they pile on 10 runs, I just hope I have another stack that gets me 12. But my plan is to fade them against Peralta. Peralta's a good pitcher.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. Big, massive slate. I don't see any reason to pick on one of the top pitchers on the slate. Moving on to our next game here, we have the Colorado Rockies going to the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto big minus 220 favorites, an 8 total in this game. We have a pitching matchup of Ryan Feltner for the Rockies, Kevin Gausman for the Blue Jays. Slow start to his spring. Was dealing with an injury there. Beat up in his last start pretty good by the Yankees, but man, he gets a pretty solid matchup here against the Rockies. Are we paying 10K for Kevin Gausman in this spot?
We are, and I'm glad you just skipped over Feltner because we're not playing Feltner. So we just go ahead and get that out of the way. We're not playing Feltner today. Listen, man.
Is there a Rockies pitcher you're going to play all season long? Like
I don't think so.
Probably not.
I don't think so. If we go back 2-3 years ago, give me Herman Marquez. I'll gladly play him. But yeah, Gausman, Keith, he's 10K. I think he's worth every bit of this 10K. Now, once again, you talked about it. I don't think he's going 100 pitches. I think his top is 85 here, just based on, once again, slow spring training. Came out first game. What was he, around 70 pitches? And the last game he just got touched up. So he quite get there. I don't think he goes past 85, but all spots are created equal. Kevin Gausman could legitimately get through 6 innings and 85 pitches against this team. That is not like some high in the sky dream here. I don't know what his K prop's going to come in at. I haven't quite looked at that yet, but I have to assume it's 7.5, 6.5 at a minimum. Like I'm going to assume 7.5, and he's probably going to pick up every bit of those strikeouts. I like Gausman here. He should be well worth all of the money we pay for him on this slate.
I'll tell you this: if it comes in at 6.5, you're going to see that over written up next to my name on Scores and Odds.
Oh yeah, you better believe it.
I'd be considering it at 7.5, but I'm with you. I think it comes in at 7.5, and I have interest too. I don't care that he got beat up by the Yankees. They're a big power team that's going to do that to a lot of pitchers this year. So, Gausman, I like 69 pitches in that first start. You figure he was on track to go mid 80s in that second one. Got beat up a little bit and pulled early. These things happen. So I'm with you. I think we can comfortably rely on mid 80s for the pitch count with maybe even potential for 90, but awesome spot here against a really bad Toronto offense, or Colorado offense rather. And speaking of that offense, do you have any interest whatsoever in the bats against them?
No.
Nor do I. Way too big of a slate. I know Gausman got beat up in the last one, but this is one of the best pitchers in baseball. I fully expect him to rebound here. On the Toronto side, any interest there against Feltner?
I've got some, and it's not like one guy or another. I just think this is an interesting stack. Now, keep in mind, I am not the Toronto Blue Jays whisperer. I feel like every time I take them against a bottom of the barrel pitcher, whether it's a short slate, big slate like this one, they score 1 to 2 runs and they hit a home run late to win the game. I don't get this team right at all, and I can't explain it. I just don't get this team right. They'll go and face, Spencer Strider, and they'll score 12 runs. I don't get it. So I'm going to play them because it's the right thing to do, but I don't plan on picking and choosing. I'm just going to try to stack them.
I'm with you. Like I can never get the Blue Jays right either. I hate how right-handed heavy their lineup is. And they just, every time I think they're in a good spot, they just don't seem to get there. Them and the Padres, I would say, are the two teams that I cannot get right. Like I've been chasing the Padres for a week.
I played them almost every slate. If I go back and look at my stack percentages, Keith, they're in there at least 10, 15%. They get Miles Mikolas, and he's got 20 strikeouts against him. I'm exaggerating.
Javier Assad is the one that just shut him down here recently. That was a brutal day for me.
Unbelievable. All
right. Mild interest at best. It's a weak pitcher. It's a horrible bullpen. So I think you have to have some interest in Toronto. But again, it's not a fun team to stack for me. I wish there were a couple extra left-handed bats in here to target. Yeah. Varsho's been pretty bad to start the season here. He's down at 3,100, but they're burying him in the lineup. So, yes, of course, you can pay up for Vlad, get Bichette and Springer in there, and those guys are under 5K. So it's not a terribly expensive stack, but that just speaks to their recent performance too. So
yeah,
mild interest at best in Toronto. Next game is the Angels heading to Fenway Park to take on the Red Sox. We have Boston as a -116 favorite, 8.5 total in the game. We have Tanner Houck taking on Reed Detmers. Any interest here in Tanner? Let's start with Tanner Houck. Has looked really good his first 2 starts.
Yeah, and actually he's been good all the way through spring training, Keith. I am one of these I'll say degenerates. I don't want to call it degenerates. I just kind of use it as research to just keep a pulse on where guys may be coming into the season. Tanner Houck actually had a really good spring training. My only concern here is, he's about to see this team twice in less than a week. Yep. I think he's still okay. I don't think he's the best play, but I still think he's okay. It's not. He's seen Oakland. He had 10 strikeouts, 7 against the Angels. I assume he picks up at least 5 strikeouts here. Seeing them twice, I'm not going to give him 7. If he can get through 6 innings, that game he got through clean. I gotta assume he gives up 2 runs here. Seeing him, like I said, second time in less than a week. That's still a reasonable score if he can go 6, pick up 5 to 6 strikeouts, give up 2 runs. That's still reasonable enough, especially if he somehow gets the win as well, gets those extra win points, which I don't typically count those in. But at 8,400, I'm okay with Tanner Houck. If he was facing a team for the first time, he'd probably be one of my favorite pitchers on the slate. But because he's facing the Angels, second time in less than a week, that's my only cause to pause.
Yeah, I think you broke that down perfectly. I don't really have anything to add. That second start against the same team back to back, you generally see that strikeout rate decline. Houck's a guy I'm excited about. I think he has a good chance to put together a really, really good season, but gets the ballpark downgrade being back home here in Boston, just a little bit tougher spot, and then facing the same team in back-to-back starts. So I'm with you. I like him. If it was the first time he was facing him, I would have a lot more interest, but there's also a couple of strong 7K options too that for just a little bit cheaper. So nature of the slate. On the other side, we've got the lefty Reed Detmers. Any interest here against Boston?
Well, watch, rinse, repeat, Keith. Same situation.
Yeah.
The only difference it's the only difference for me with Detmers. Keith, I know early in the season, people probably saying, Chief, are you crazy? Like, why are you looking at this data so early? I always tell people, we're in the daily fantasy sports business. This isn't season long. So I want to know what's going on day to day, week to week, so I can try to get as many little edges as I can. I think Reed Detmers is for sure in the same situation. But Boston has been awful against lefties to start the season, Keith. I mean, these strikeout rates up and down it's astronomical. So I'm probably a lot higher on Detmers than Houck because of Boston's K rates. Once again, do I think he gets 12 strikeouts? Absolutely not. Do I think 7 or 8 is in the cards? Absolutely. This team is striking out an incredible clip to lefties right now. So Detmers grades out for me today better. Still the same situation. Going to temper my expectations, but I think he's a better play than Houck today.
Yep, I'm with you. I prefer Detmer slightly to Houck. I don't have the versus lefty numbers pulled up, but I do have the full league for their strikeout percentage to begin the season. Boston is third highest at 27.1 overall against they're striking out this year so far. So it's early. It's still a small sample. We don't know if that's sticky, but like you said, I look at this stuff this early too. But it's not the end all be all for me, but that data is more than not looking at it. So I definitely always want to see where teams are at in their most recent history. So I'm with you. I think Detmers has more upside than Houck. If choosing between the two, it would be Detmers for me. How about Angels bats against Houck?
Yeah, that's the weird thing. I'm not playing Angels bats, and I'm also not playing any Boston bats either, Keith. I am going to stay away from the offenses here. Once again, big slate, and we've got some other offenses that we can absolutely utilize. I'm not going to, get mad at anyone for a one-off Mike Trout. Like, you'll never hear me try to convince you out of that. But that's about as far as I'm probably going to go with the offenses here.
Yeah, Trout is the one that I wanted to mention. Like, early in the season, he's not, those injuries are coming. Like, it's just inevitable at this point. He's as healthy as he's going to be all season. He's off to a great start. Fenway Park fits him perfectly. So definitely don't be afraid to load up some Mike Trout one-offs. But I'm with you. I don't think there's enough talent here for me to stack against a pitcher who I think is above average at this point. You said you were not interested in Boston bats on the other side. I'm kind of with you there. This team's been struggling. There's one bat that stands out here, though, just like there was on the other side. Tyler O'Neill has been on quite the tear. 5,000 in Fenway Park with that monster in left field, a park that fits a fly ball hitter like him really well. So certainly don't hate Tyler O'Neill as one-off.
Yep, with you 100%.
All right, next game is the Yankees traveling to the Cleveland Guardians. We have the Yankees as minus 142 favorites, 8.5 total in the game. Pitching matchup here is Clark Schmidt taking on Carlos Carrasco. Any interest here in Clark Schmidt against the Guardians?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think there's a couple pitchers, a few $100 more that just have a lot more upside. The Guardians are not a team that strike out a ton. They've been trending that same way this season. So don't think this is the spot for Clark Schmidt. I do think he's a talented pitcher and excited to see what he can do as a full-time starter, but not the spot for him. Other side, Cookie Carrasco. I tell you what, I wrote up his under strikeout prop last time, and he got me. 6 strikeouts against the strikeout heavy Minnesota team. But before that, man, the strikeout data for the last year and a half, 2 years has just been brutal for Carlos Carrasco. So any interest for you here against the Yankees?
Nope. Not at all. I don't care what he did against Minnesota. Everybody's doing that to Minnesota. So, it is what it is. I'm not playing Cookie Carrasco on this slate.
Yeah, I'm not either. Ballpark downgrade for the Yankees, cold weather in Cleveland, but I still like 6,700 fair price, probably too big a slate for me to mess with Carrasco here. Yeah. How about Yankees bats against them? Any interest there?
Yeah, I'm actually okay with the Yankees. Probably more so mini stacks than like full 5-mans for me. Yeah, I do think the ballpark will play into that and a little bit of the weather. But, Soto could absolutely get a hold of one. Judge could get a hold of one. Stitt could get a hold of one. Like any of these guys could absolutely, send one out of here. Rizzo. But I think I play mini stacks for the Yankees. If I had to choose one guy against Carrasco, obviously it's going to be Juan Soto, one of the lowest strikeout rates in baseball over the past few seasons. And even this season, it's going to be low against right-handed pitching. Like, it's just that's who he is. Probably going to have one of the highest walk rates. I think I was listening to something the other day. Even on the season right now, he's got more walks than strikeouts. Right now, and that's probably going to continue, especially against right-handed pitching. So Soto at 6,100. I'm in probably one of the best one-off plays on this team against Carrasco.
Yeah, I don't think I'm stacking either. Like Carrasco still has some ability to induce soft contact. I don't buy the strikeouts that we saw in the last start. The Yankees do strike out a bit, but I like the high strikeout bats here because they're facing a pitcher who hasn't missed bats in quite a while. So love Judge and Stanton. Love the Soto call as well. Just a really solid all-around hitter. You're getting points when you roster Soto. Sometimes the upside is a little bit capped, but anytime he's in a matchup against a pitcher that's going to throw strikes, you're certainly interested.
But listen, he's hitting home runs early this year, Keith. That's the problem. Yeah. He's hitting them right now. Like usually we weren't getting home runs from him like enough until like it gets hot. He's hitting them in cold weather. Like sign me up if you're gonna, walk, steal, hit singles, and give me some dongs. I'm in.
All right. Guardians on the other side against Clark Schmidt.
I don't want to stack Cleveland. Like Stephen Kwan's 5'2", man. Like that's a little astronomical for me for Stephen Kwan. Like once again, this guy's an on-base machine. He's gonna get fantasy points. 5'2" though. A little too steep for my blood. Listen, the Nailers, 5,100 for Josh, 4,300 for Bo. I wanted to play a couple Cleveland bats. They're just too expensive, Keith. I mean, I don't mind Jose Ramirez, but I don't want to get into bed with Cleveland. This is another team I don't get right, Keith. They face a pitcher like this, and they score 2 runs. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. Like, there's not enough upside at these prices. They're a very low-power team, high contact. They don't strike out, but they don't hit a lot of home runs either. Naylor
if this team was in the KBO, we'd love them. But this isn't the KBO. This is MLB.
Yeah, I hear you. Not a team that I stack all that often. If it was in Yankee Stadium, I still don't think I would have interest. Even like maybe I'd take a couple shots on lefties. Jose Ramirez would look really good, but in Cleveland here, I don't see any reason to do it at these prices.
Yeah, for sure.
That's because we have offenses like the next one here. We have the Atlanta Braves taking on the Miami Marlins. Atlanta, big -200 favorites here. 8.5 total in the game. Pitching matchup here is Max Fried coming off a couple of rough starts against Trevor Rogers. We will start with Max Fried here. Has not been a good season here for Mr. Fried. Miami has been an absolutely abysmal offense, though. They have the lowest WRC plus on the season by like 21 points. I think I saw. They have a 60 WRC plus, which is just absolutely ridiculously low. Minnesota and Seattle are next lowest at 80 WRC plus. So just nothing from the Miami bats, but Max Fried hasn't been quite right either. So what are you doing here with this situation?
I'm fading Max Fried until he gets right. And Keith, I know you probably know this. I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan. I'm actually very concerned that he's going to have to go on the IR at some point. I'm not kidding. Like something, this is very weird to me because this is a guy, He's never been high strikeout. He's always been good command, good control, a few strikeouts because he can pitch around you, ground balls, eat through the innings. And he's doing none of that. And it's like he's falling off of a cliff. I am very concerned. I'm not playing Max Fried in this spot.
Yeah, I'm not either. I attacked him in his last start, and I took his under 5.5 strikeouts. He threw like 37 pitches or something in the first inning. And I was like, okay, that's a lock. We hit that one. He comes out and he strikes out the side in the bottom of the second. So then I was like, okay, now we have to sweat it. And then they let him throw 97 pitches. Yeah, it was a great spot for the under there against Arizona. Probably not so against this Miami team, especially if they're going to let him go 97 pitches again. I could not believe. Like, he definitely turned it around. It seemed like something clicked for him in that second inning. But, man, it's been a rough go for it here for Max Fried. So I love the matchup. I just don't trust the pitcher right now at this point. And like you said, it's not that big of a discount considering he's not like a super high strikeout guy anyway. He lives around league average. So I think I'll be off Max Fried until we see something better from him. I don't believe I have to ask you about Trevor Rogers, but I will just in case.
Yeah, we're not playing Trevor Rogers today.
No chance.
Listen, Keith, there will be some spots, though, this season where Trevor Rogers, I think, is valuable. Today is not the day.
Even Ryan Weathers in that Miami rotation is looking like maybe he's doing some different things. So I agree. Like, pitching in that ballpark in Miami, there's opportunities there for some starters. Not so when Atlanta's in town. Tell me what you like here about the Atlanta Bats.
Well, first off, I like the fact that we're coming off this matchup with the Mets where we just got absolutely demolished on the previous game, Keith. I mean, we lost that game 16-4. Not sure if you followed that, but I mean, it was a beat down. We should be smelling the blood in the water today. Let's come out. We got a pitcher that's, meager at best. And, I don't think Acuna had a hit in that game for what it's worth. And, I mean, we had the hits. We just couldn't get the runs. Why am I bringing all of that up? This offense is fine. We just couldn't drive them home today. You got Ozuna here. You got Harris, even though it's lefty-lefty. You got Duvall, Riley, Albies, who, like I said, has been a really good hitter for us so far. Travis d'Arnaud at 3,700. They played Trump earlier today. Look, man, I don't have to sell you on the Braves, but I do want to drive the fact home that even on this big slate, they should have reasonably low ownership in Miami. I think it's a great spot for them.
Yeah, they're expensive, but they're worth every penny. Ballpark downgrade, don't care. I have a ton of interest anytime the Braves are facing a lefty. I am completely with you. Stack them up 1 through 9. I really hope d'Arnaud is in that lineup.
He like should be. They gave him the day off.
Yeah, Trump started Thursday, the day game after the night game, so it makes sense that d'Arnaud would be back in there. Marcell Ozuna, man, this guy just a year ago this time, he was on the verge of being released, and he has just not stopped hitting since then. Like, it has been an incredible run from Marcell Ozuna. Albies has been red hot, like you said. He's always hit lefties better. Riley, Acuna, even Olsen, lefty, Harris, as you mentioned, all of them are just absolutely fantastic. Love the Braves here.
Yeah, big time.
Miami Bats on the other side.
So here's my argument, Keith. I don't want to play Miami. I really don't. But if Max Fried is somehow broken, I think I have a couple shares just in case. And it's not like one guy, once again, it's kind of the same situation as I would say with Toronto. You just kind of stack them and hope that you catch lightning in a bottle against Max Fried, who's just seemingly not pitching well so far this season. That's my only argument for Miami. In a general sense, I don't want to play them, but I feel like I might have to consider some of them. Well, let me say this. Everybody probably wants to play Berger today as a one-off. He's going to be pretty cheap. Facing Fried, could absolutely hit a bomb or two. So I don't hate that, but just some small shares of some stats. I might not go past 4 on them. I don't think I go to 5, but the way Fried's look, I have to and make Fried prove to me that he's not broken.
Yeah, fair enough. Like it's nothing's jumping off the page here, but other than Fried's struggles to begin the season here. I talked about how brutal Miami has been as an offense so far. They're not going to be that bad all season. Nobody's ever going to finish a season around a 60 WRC plus, but
except the Washington Nationals.
even then they'll be like 80.
I know.
But yes, your point is fair. I don't hate a full stack or two. I don't think I'm trying to pick on Fried with a one-off other than Berger. Like you mentioned, he's the clear power bat who has a chance to touch Fried up. But Fried, when he's right, just doesn't give up homers. So not a guy I generally pick on, but just because of what he's looked like in the last 2 starts, I'd be fine with a couple. If I was making 20 lineups, maybe I'd have one stack of them, 150, maybe 5 or 6 or something. All right, next spot, we have the Royals at the New York Mets. Mets are minus 120 favorites here. 8 is the total in the game. Pitchers, we have Michael Wacha against Luis Severino. Wacha has looked pretty good here to start the season. Any interest here against the Mets team in a great pitcher's ballpark here?
Man, Keith, I wish he was a little cheaper, but I may just have to eat it today. The thing about Wacha is, even if the strikeouts aren't all the way there in this game, Keith, he could still get through 6 innings, 4 strikeouts, and be fairly clean. Possibly, Keith, he could get through 7 innings and have a fairly clean outing. I'm not expecting the Mets to touch him up. As he's gotten older, he's found ways to just keep inducing ground balls, not get beat up too much. So Wacha 85. Once again, I think the price is a little bit too expensive. I feel like he should probably be closer to 7,900, 8K, but I'm still okay with it because if he's rolling, he eats through a couple of these innings in 7, 8 pitches, like sometimes you see him do. He could easily get through 7.5 innings here. So that's kind of my reason for playing him at 8,500. I don't fear the Mets.
Yeah, I don't fear the Mets either. Even though they put up a ton of runs on your Braves yesterday, I just
Winans just got beat up. Yeah.
This is a great pitcher's park. I think Wacha has a good chance to limit runs in this spot, and I like him to pitch deep into the game. 93 pitches in his last start against the White Sox. So I'm with you there. You should get some length out of Wacha here. Strikeouts may not be there, but even though he's not an above, like he's barely above average. And the Mets don't strike out all that much, he's going to get you probably 5 or 6 strikeouts in this spot, especially if he's going like 7 innings.
Yep.
Severino, 6,800. They're kind of tempting us with this price tag. Kansas City's been a bit of a hot offense as well. Any interest here in Severino?
I do. This is why I can't play some of these other cheap guys. Look, I'm not saying Severino is the Severino of old when we were paying like, people make some if people haven't been playing DFS over the past 3 or 4 seasons, they may not realize Severino was a guy we were paying 10K for. Yep. Sometimes above 10K, no lower than that 9,500. And he had some injuries, and that bounced him around, and he was hurt and just couldn't get it together. But from what I've seen, Keith, it looks like he's mostly back. If he can continue to pitch and stay healthy, Severino ends the season, I think, in the 8K range, not the 6K range. I think he's 6K because the slate is large and he's facing Kansas City. I do respect Kansas City. This offense has been good, but I think Severino, at some point, we're going to look back over the season and say, man, we were paying 6K for this guy. I know he had a rough start in Milwaukee. We've talked about how good Milwaukee's been. We saw him come out. Here was what I was encouraged with, Keith. 99 pitches against Cincinnati, 5 innings, 7 strikeouts. I'm not saying he gets 7 strikeouts today, but if he's not getting touched up, we know the leash is there. I like Severino today on the cheap end. Not sure if I'd go there in cash. I'm close. I'm really close on pairing him with one of the top tier guys and going okay in cash because I don't need 30 points from him. If he gives me 15 points today, I'm feeling perfectly fine with that. At 6,800, for a pitcher. So that's my scenario with Severino. I guess I could have pulled up some extra stats just so we could talk about where he is this season in terms of his K rates, and he's about as close as he's going to get, Keith, to where he was. 27% of the season, only 18% the righties. 34% the lefties. I do think that will normalize. If he sits around 26% by the end of the year, this is a good season for him. So I know I went overboard, but I do like Severino today at this price.
Yeah, you emphasize the right thing there. The price, he's a better talent than a $6,800 price. So I think Kansas City's an average offense. I don't think they're an elite by any means. They have a chance to take a step into that above average tier in the spot. There's a lot of young talent. Michael Garcia, a guy who looks to be taking a step forward. Bobby Witt is obviously loaded with potential. We've been waiting on Vinny P to break out for a couple of years, it feels like. So there's some talent on that Kansas City team, but Severino, like you mentioned a couple of years ago before the injuries, was one of the premier arm talents in the game. So if he's even close to back, he's too cheap here at 6,800 in an awesome pitcher's park. So I do share some interest there. I think there's some better options for upside in the 7K range that we'll get to, but I definitely think if you need to save $500, $600, $700, going down to Severino is definitely viable on the slate.
Yeah.
That being said, are you playing any Kansas City bats if you have interest in Severino?
I'm gonna fade Kansas City today. Once again, Keith, a lot of this when I'm completely fading teams like this, it's really more so slate size. So when I start getting to 12 games, I can be fairly picky. And, not to be like arrogant here, Keith, but I think we're good enough to figure out, 4 or 5 teams that can score runs out of 12 games. So I'm going to be very selective. So I'm probably not playing Kansas City. I'm probably not playing the Mets. I know you can one off Bobby Witt. You can one off Pete Alonso. But for me, slate this size, I already know I want to play Miami. I already know I want to play Toronto. Like those are 2 big teams that I want to consider. Want to get some one-offs from the Yankees. I'm going to play some mini stacks for Miami just in case Freed's broken. I don't want to overreach with Kansas City or the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, different ballpark. I might have interest in Kansas City in this matchup, but yeah, too tough of a pitcher's park here. Not a park I want to chase home runs either. So no interest in Kansas City. Mets for me, Pete Alonso would definitely be that guy. Waka has allowed plenty of home runs in his career. We know Pete Alonso can bang them out. So love the Pete Alonso one-off call. Francisco Alvarez is a cheap catcher with a little bit of power is totally fine, but I don't have any interest in stacking against Waka.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Our next game is the Cincinnati Reds at the Chicago White Sox. Reds are minus 180 favorites here. Total in this game is sitting at 9. Pitchers for the Reds will be Andrew Abbott, Chris Flexen for the White Sox. Any interest here in the lefty Andrew Abbott here against the White Sox?
Man, Keith, what if I told you the White Sox aren't as bad as the public thinks they are?
I've been hearing this for 3 years, Chief.
No. But no. Okay, I've been on the opposite end of this the past few seasons, Keith, where I felt like the public thought they were better and they weren't. This season so far, I'm not looking at the win column, Keith. I'm talking about like the raw numbers. They're not as bad on paper as the public thinks they are. And I think I talked about this maybe on the previous slate. I think they were facing Tanner Bybee. And we had a prize. I promise I'm going somewhere with this. We had a prize picks prop of 36.5 fantasy points. And once again, that just goes to show me that the public has a skewed view of the Chicago White Sox. Tanner Bybee was at 36.5 raw fantasy points. That's a really high number for those that don't know, based on FanDuel scored for Tanner Bybee. But it's because he was facing the White Sox and they thought he was going to mow him down. I started taking the under, and everybody in the prop shop's like, you're taking the under at Tanner Bybee fantasy points against what? I'm telling you, the White Sox are being undervalued by the public because of previous seasons. And lo and behold, the White Sox went and just not demolished them, but I mean, they got 5 or 6 runs off of them, ran up the pitch count early. And that's how I feel about this spot with Andrew Abbott. I know I went all around the world to talk about the White Sox, but my point is, I don't think Abbott has a great day against this team. Ed could be on my face by the time the slate ends, but I don't think so. I'm fading Andrew Abbott today.
All right. I had a little interest in Andrew Abbott, so we have our first disagreement, I think, of the show.
I know.
Here, you have Luis Robert on the IL. Yohan Moncada just had another leg injury. Eloy Jimenez is on the IL. I'm not seeing it, Chief.
That's why
I
they're
will
playing
say,
better. The big name for the problem.
I mean, Moncada, I will agree with. Eloy's been down for a year and a half too, so I don't disagree on those two. Luis Robert is very
Robert
clearly
was good when he was playing.
He's their best player by far.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I will say they're not that high of a strikeout team, and like the upside for Abbott, I think is what you're speaking to. He shouldn't have a problem with run prevention here, but I do agree it's not the best strikeout matchup, and I do have a little bit of concern here. I keep talking about the 7K range that we haven't got to yet, any of the guys in that range, but I do think the 7K range is strong. It was mild interest in Abbott. I think you convinced me to just go ahead and take him out of my pool for today because it isn't the best strikeout matchup. So I'm listening to you, Chief. I'm with you now. And we have another a real low strikeout pitcher on the other side in Chris Flexen. The Reds can strike out with the best of them, but any interest here in Chris Flexen at 6K?
I can't, man. But here's the thing. If this slate was smaller, Keith, like if we read about 5 games, I may have had slight consideration because the Reds are striking out a bit. But I can't do it on a big slate with Chris Flexen. Especially, like I said, Severino's kind of he's my measuring stick today. There's no reason for me to drop $800 to go to Flex when I can get Severino at 68.
Totally agree with you there. Like when we're talking about arm talent, the difference between Luis Severino and Chris Flexen is massive. So no interest for Flexen for me either. How about Reds bats against him? Any interest there?
Yeah, definitely want to stack the Reds here. I know they're in Chicago, but I don't care, man. And once again, Chris Flexen is one of those guys that either he's going to give it up or he's going to have these weird innings where it's a whole bunch of flyouts. You can't get that's what it's going. There's no in between with him. He's getting rocked or he's going to have 2-3 strikeouts and go 6 or 7 innings. I'm hoping it's the latter. I'm hoping it's the former where he gets rocked today. And I do want to play the Reds. I like Ellie De La Cruz. Obviously he's one of the better hitters, even though he's going to strike out. Encarnacion Strand, I don't hate him. I don't mind Jonathan India. If Jonathan India can get his strikeouts back under control and become more of he needs to get back to playing more like Altuve and less like Brandon Lau. Just get back to that, and we'll be fine. But all in all, I'm going to be stacking the Reds. Candelario's there now, gives them a nice little switch hitting bat. I'm in on Cincinnati.
Yeah, I am too. I think this is a really good spot for them. Flexen, like you said, he gives up a ton of fly balls. A lot of them are not as deep as we want them to be. He's a hard guy to pick on. Like fly ball ability is conducive to home runs, but you have a much lower BABIP when you're giving up fly balls as opposed to ground balls. So he has these starts where he survives because the balls don't go over the fence. So that's all we're hoping for is a couple three balls over the fence here, and we're cooking with this Cincinnati stack. I love Ellie De La Cruz against a low strikeout pitcher. Jake Fraley is another guy that I really like here. Encarnacion Strand has big power. I love the Candelario call as well. If Nick Martini's in the lineup, I don't hate that. Will Benson has a nice power speed combo. Like this Reds offense is talented. Like they're going to have their struggles because they strike out a lot, but against a low strikeout pitcher, that's where I'm looking to target this high powered Reds offense. So I'm with you. I like the Reds a bunch today.
Yeah.
How about White Sox on the other side?
Okay, Keith. As much as I said, I don't want to play Andrew Abbott.
Right, good.
I'm not playing the White Sox. Once again, realistically, I do think they give Abbott problems because it's kind of a two-edged sword here, Keith. Abbott already has control issues, and the White Sox aren't striking out a bunch. So this isn't me saying they're going to run up the score. This is me saying they're going to run up his pitch count, and Abbott may not be able to get to a level where he's even serviceable because, he could only go 5 innings here and, 3 strikeouts, give up 2 runs or 4 strikeouts, and that's not going to be enough. So that's really what all it is with the White Sox. I'm not stacking them at all.
Okay, good. I thought you were going a different direction with the way you started that, but please, don't stack the White Sox today. Abbott's, I think he's solid. If you want to go hunt home runs with like an Andrew Vaughn or a Paul DeYoung, even who's cheap at shortstop, I'm fine with that. But I don't think I'll be stacking him. Abbott has had his control issues in the past, so I think that'd be the argument if you do like the White Sox today. But there's just not enough talent in this offense for me. All right, next game here we have the Texas Rangers taking on the Houston Astros in the Battle of Texas. We have the Astros as minus 138 favorites. We have a 9.5 total in the game. Dane Dunning going for the Rangers. JP France going for the Astros. Dane Dunning has looked pretty good here to start the season. Any interest here in Dane Dunning down at 7,000?
I'm going to play him because I think he's been too good for the price to start the season. Once again, though, Keith, we talked about it with Boston. There's a situation you're seeing the same team in less than a week. I'm very concerned that Dane Dunning won't break 20 fantasy points here. I'm also very concerned his ceiling might be the 18 fantasy points he saw against Houston the first time. So begrudgingly, I'm going to play him because I do think he's a bit too cheap. Dane Dunning probably should be 75, 7,600 by now, and he's still 7K. That's my argument, but it would not surprise me if Houston smacked him around in this spot. Seen him twice in a week.
Yeah, Houston's not a team that I pick on very often. But back-to-back strikeout games, 7 strikeouts against this Houston team, first of all, once is impressive. Right. But back-to-back strikeout games for a pitcher that's seven strikeout games for a pitcher that's 7,000, that has my attention. If it was a different matchup after he just did that to Houston, I would have a ton of interest in Dane here.
He also probably wouldn't be 7K. I think 7K is a Houston effect.
Yeah, which is fair. Because it's not a high upside spot for him, so he needs to be cheap for us to want to roster him. He is. I think he could hold the Astros bats down again. He's a fine starting pitcher. I don't know if the strikeouts are real yet. I need to dig in to a little bit more pitch data and see what he's been working with this year. If he got a velocity bump or added anything to his repertoire, but I don't know that I'm a Dane Dunning believer enough where I'm going to just go out and go all in on him against an Astros team that he's facing for the second start in a row. So large field tournaments, fine, but mild interest at best for me. How about JP France on the other side here against a Texas team that seems to have burned us a couple of times here this week? Yeah, I have no interest there either.
Play JP, no.
Nope, this Texas offense is too good. Tell me what you like here for the Rangers.
Oh, man, yeah, I'm stacking up this team. And Corey Seager, one of the top plays on the slate for me today. I mean, look, man, say what you want. I checked the numbers. I wrote him up the slate before. They didn't do anything against who did they have? Sears? Yeah, I think they got
Sears no-hit him for 6 innings.
Yeah, they didn't do anything. Folks, don't be fooled. That's going to happen to every team. Texas is for real. They should have their way with JP France. Corey Seager, I think I looked up. I think Corey Seager is sitting around a 14% K rate on the year right now. The power is down so far, but that will come back. I'm not worried about that. I mean, this man, I think last season had a 333 ISO or something around there against right-handed pitching, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around a 446 WOBA or something. I'm pretty close to the numbers, Keith. I wrote them up, so they're kind of slightly fresh in my head. Either way, I don't have to sell you, but Corey Seager is a guy that we definitely want to play here. You know, they've been playing some of these other interesting cats because you know guys have been hurt. So you're also getting like Evan Carter playing every day now. You're getting like Jonah Heim is pretty much the everyday catcher. You'll get some walls. I don't have to sell you on Simeon. You're getting, Josh Smith playing every day. So this team, they've got enough balance in the salaries, and I think this is a good spot for them. And I see our good friend Potagen Stoner say he's done with the Rangers for a while. I mark my words, Stoner. Hop off of them today. You're going to be kicking yourself when they run it up. I wouldn't hop off just yet, man. Not against this pitcher.
Yeah, I agree. This is a great spot for the Rangers. Like Texas is a great offense. I don't know if they're in that elite tier where the Braves and the Dodgers live, but they're right on the edge of that, man. Like this is a really good offense. They're really young too. Hate to see Josh Young with another injury, but guys like Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford's gonna hit. Okay, all the guy's done in his life is hit. I know he's off to a really slow start, but he's gonna hit eventually. Jared Walsh looks reborn. I like Jared
I would
Walsh
be too if I was playing in Texas now.
Yeah. I love this spot for Texas. I think you can definitely stack them up 1 through 9. Like you said, you can get a few value bats in there too. Ezekiel Duran, if he's in the lineup, is only 2,700. He's been playing frequently. Yep. Wenzel is another rookie that they just bought up. He's still down there at minimum price, so 2,100. Had a nice little power profile in the minors, so don't hate punting with him. I know third base, there's some opportunity cost, but he can hit you a home run or two.
Yeah.
Other side of this game, Astros against Dunning. Any interest there?
I'm going to stack Houston because I respect Houston. I am going to play Dunning today in mass multi-entry, so no doubt about it. I think he's too cheap. But, once again, man, when you got Alvarez, you got Tucker, you got Altuve, listen, a little birdie on the street's telling me Bregman might get moved. I think that's going to be good for him. I think he needs a change of scenery. But either way, the Astros are a good team, and I think I'm going to be stacking them for that reason. Just because I think they're too good to not play on any slate.
Yeah, I mean, I do respect Dunning. He had a decent outing against them last time, but I do think Houston is the better side here. So I'm with you. They're not going to be one of my top 3 or 4 stacks, but they're definitely in the pool today. There's too much upside not to. I also don't think this Texas bullpen is very good, as they were not last year. So if Dunning only lasts 4 or 5 innings, you got quite a few good spots against a bad bullpen too. So I'm with you on Houston. Next game, moving on here, we have the St. Louis Cardinals at the Arizona Diamondbacks. Arizona is a -118 favorite, 9.5 total in this game. Pitchers, we have Brandon Pfaadt going for Arizona, Steven Matz going for the Cardinals. Brandon Pfaadt is sitting at 7,500. Any interest here against a Cardinals team that's really struggled to open up the season?
I'm close. Like I think he could be good in this spot. He is at home. He's 7,500. Do I think he has 20-point upside? Maybe. I mean, we saw it against Colorado, which is probably at this point a similarly profiled team. And why am I saying similarly? Because St. Louis has Goldschmidt and Arenado. And, once upon a time, Blackman and Chris Bryant were 2 premier hitters in the MLB. So it's not like Colorado's all the way down. The most healthy they've been. I think I'm going to play Fox for that reason. St. Louis has got to show me that they're ready to play baseball.
Derek, our resident Cardinals fan in the chat, says Cardinals are going to wake up and choose violence tomorrow. I sure hope not, because point per dollar, Brandon Pfaadt is my favorite pitcher on the entire slate.
I think Derek's choosing violence, not the Cardinals. Yeah. They're going to go sit on their nest and see if they can bring some more chiclets out, because the Cardinals aren't doing anything right now.
Yeah, Pfaadt is also a really good young starting pitcher. He had his struggles coming up last year. He dominated in the playoffs and even towards the end of the season last year. He looked really good in his first couple of starts here. Colorado, I mean, they're one of the worst offenses. 7 strikeouts against Atlanta is no small feat. So yeah, that has my attention there. And then the Cardinals' start to the season has my attention as well. They've struck out at 24%, which is 10th most in baseball. Their WRC plus is 81, so almost 20% below league average. I don't think they're going to live there all season. I think the Cardinals are at least a league average offense. Yeah, but sure, their struggles are real to begin the season. So Pfaadt, who has strikeout upside at 7,500, count me in for that one. Yeah. Steven Matz on the other side here. Arizona does not strike out much. Any interest in Matz at 7,300?
Yeah, Arizona's going to get too much respect from you for me to roll Steven Matz out today with all these other guys we have in this range. No need for me to overreach. Not playing them.
Yeah, same. Arizona's going to be a tough team to pick on all year just because they're a high contact team. There's some power in that lineup as well. Matt's strikeouts have come down here recently, so no reason to target him here. How about St. Louis bats against Fott? Any interest there?
Nope.
Same here. I think I'm out. You can certainly chase home runs here. The big power guys in Goldschmidt, Arenado. Gorman is gonna hit for power eventually. He's been brutal to start the season, but big power profile there. Chasing home runs is about the only interest I have here, and that is minimal. Like I said, Fott is one of those 7K range pitchers that I was talking about. I think has a lot of upside today. Arizona on the other side here against Steven Matz.
I'm playing Arizona almost every day, Keith. Especially against pitchers that are middle of the road, and it's kind of the same reason I'm playing Houston and the Braves. Like, these are teams you just have to play. Like, and I'm mentioning this, we saw the Braves get shut down a couple games, Keith, like through 7 innings, and they just rattled off 8 or 9 runs in the last 2 innings and win the baseball game. And Arizona could absolutely pull off this type of performance. Once again, I just think this team is too good for us to not play them against guys that are middle of the road. They added Eugenio Suarez, who, while he may strike out some, I mean, this guy's got tons of power. You've got Walker, who's got tons of power. Gurriel flashing power early in the season. They may even play Grichuk in this spot, Keith, and platoon him for 3,900. I think they've got too much talent, too many guys that could get a hold of one for me to not play them on this slate.
Yeah, I really like this spot for Arizona. I am with you in that I think they're a well above average offense. I want to play them most days, especially when they're facing left-handed pitching. Guys like Christian Walker, Eugenio Suarez. I love the Grichuk call as well. I do think he'll be in there. We're just looking to see. I know they had a lefty in Colorado. Grichuk only got 2 at-bats in one of those Colorado games, 3 and then 5. So there is some pinch hit risk there with Randall Grichuk, Blaze Alexander, the other guy who might have some pinch hit risk, but he's cheap enough where you give me 2 at-bats off of Steven Matz. I'm pretty happy chasing those cheap righties with big-time power, and that includes Grichuk and Blaze Alexander. Gabriel Moreno is a 4K catcher. I certainly have interest there. And then Marte and Carroll up top, of course. Marte fills second base, which is nice. Carroll lefty is certainly not as much upside as he does when he's facing a righty, but I still think there's plenty of potential here for a guy with the skill set of Corbin Carroll. So love Arizona, one of my top stacks on the day.
Yep.
Next game here, the Washington Nationals at the Oakland Athletics. Oakland is a minus 132 favorite. You don't hear that very often. Only an 8 total in this game. Pitching matchup here, we have Paul Blackburn taking on Jake Irvin. Good pitchers ballpark out there in Oakland. That's why we have the low total. A couple of pitchers who have looked okay, too, to begin the year. Any interest here in Paul Blackburn against the Nats?
Yeah, man. I actually have some interest in Blackburn. It's less about the strikeout stuff and more about him, I think, being able to eat through innings. I don't think he's going to have a lot of strikeouts against Washington, for what it's worth. I don't see that. But this is a low ISO team. This team doesn't hit for a lot of power, and he's going to get ground balls for days. I mean, 11 ground balls in the Cleveland game, 9 ground balls in the Detroit game. I think we see something similar here, Keith, because this is his MO. Like, he's not trying to blow the ball. He's trying to pound you, and do soft contact. A lot of easy fly outs, ground ball outs, and he can eat through the inning. So at 7,600 in this spot against Washington, I'm fine with it.
I am as well. I wish he was a couple hundred cheaper because I totally agree with you. The strikeout stuff is not great, and the Nationals don't strike out a ton. But man, this feels like a spot. Rather than chasing strikeout props on him, I would be chasing outs props. If they hang a 17.5, that's a slam. The over. Even I think I'm interested at 18.5 as well.
I'm close, Keith. I'm hoping they give us 17 though.
Yeah, if it's 17.5, that will be a bet that I place. But yeah, like the pitch count is the other thing. Like the upside is limited, and Washington doesn't strike out. So I really wish he was like 7,200. but I'll live with the $7,600 price tag. Find a way to make that work. I think he can have a really solid outing here.
Yeah.
Other side of this game, we have Jake Irvin down at 5,200. Oakland's going to be a team we probably attack all year. Any chance you're going all the way to the bottom of the salary range for Jake Irvin here?
In match multi-entry, I am, because this is more of a, I want to stack the Braves, I want to stack the Dodgers, I want to stack Arizona. When I want to get to some of these big teams, I think Irvin fits the bill for the spot. Also, Keith, Irvin is a guy, the whole Washington pitching staff, for whatever reason, was blazing during spring training in terms of strikeouts and all these other weird things. Of course, they come into the season, they're getting beat up. I don't think Jake Irvin gets beat up today. If we can get Jake Irvin through 5-6 innings and limit the run damage, I think you'll have some strikeout upside today. If I'm assuming he comes in at 4.5, I might actually take the over on that one today in this spot. And if he gets he gets 5 strikeouts, 6 innings, and limits the runs, we're looking at 15 fantasy points or more. So I'm in at 5,200.
I love this take. I'm with you, man. He's the cheapest pitcher on the slate. He lets you do other things with roster construction that nobody else does. I don't think Jake Irvin's that good, but I know that Oakland bats are not good.
Yeah.
Like they're the worst offense in the league, and they play in one of the best pitchers parks in the league. 4th highest strikeout rate to begin the season, all the way up at 26.8%. So while I don't think Jake Irvin is an above average strikeout pitcher, I bet his under in his last start against Philly. I think this is a great spot for Jake Irvin. He's way too cheap for this matchup. I would have interest here at 6,200, to be honest.
Yeah.
Down at 5,200, I think I'll have a significant amount of Jake Irvin, actually.
Yeah. I get it. Like, he's too cheap for sure.
Yeah. Did not think I'd be saying that many times this season, if at all. Not a pitcher. Generally a pitcher I try to fade, but I love this spot for him. Washington bats against Blackburn. Do you have any interest here?
Nope.
Yeah, none for me either. It's just on a massive slate, it is hard to want to target offense in this ballpark. So not an elite offense by any means, a well below average offense. In fact, Blackburn's at least a solid major league starter. So not going there either. Oakland bats on the other side.
Nope.
None for me either. Same story. I think Irvin's worse than Blackburn, but the Oakland offense is also worse than the Nats offense. So no interest for me there either. Moving on to the next game, 2 left. We've almost made it here. We have the Chicago Cubs at the Seattle Mariners. We have the Mariners as a -120 favorite. 7.5 is the total in the game. Bryce Miller takes the ball for the Mariners. Jordan Wicks on the Cubs side. Any interest here in Bryce Miller up at 8,900?
Oh man, Keith, this is probably honestly one of the toughest decisions I've had to make for this slate, because I do think Bryce Miller has some upside. My problem is I think the Cubs offense is actually pretty good. And so at 8,900, when we've got all these other options, I think I just take the fade for that reason. He's facing Detroit, St. Louis, Minnesota. I clearly have interest in him at 8,900, but I have enough respect for Chicago and enough other pitchers on this slate that I can play that I take the fade. But it's not because it's talent. It's the spot in the price.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The Cubs are my team. I think they're a good offense as well. They're certainly not as good as your Braves from an offensive standpoint, but I do believe that they're an above-average offense this year. The numbers to begin the season look amazing from a play discipline standpoint. Just a 20.6% strikeout rate, 12% walk rate. That's the highest.
Morel's been hot this season too. I mean, he's been hot, Keith.
Yeah, they've been above average, 113 WRC plus so far. I believe in the Cubs offense. I love Bryce Miller as a pitcher. I think he's an amazing young talent. I don't think I'm going to be targeting the Cubs offense all that much here, all that much this season. So I'm out on Bryce Miller as well. It pains me to say it because I do like him. He's a guy that I generally want to be on more than the field, but I don't think this is the spot for him. Jordan Wicks on the other side, price tag at 7,900. Mariners do strike out a bunch. Wicks hasn't quite flashed the strikeout stuff yet in the majors. You taking any shots here today?
Keith, I'm close. Let me tell you why. he comes out of the gate. He has to see Texas. He has to see the Dodgers. And he had 6 Ks against Texas, 7 Ks against the Dodgers, 100 pitches in that game, just couldn't get through the 5th. And he gave up a couple runs. He should absolutely be able to pick up 6 or 7 strikeouts against this team today. I think I'm in on Wicks. The 100 pitches is really what sold me. Like, if they're going to give him, it doesn't have to be 100, Keith. If they're going to give him 90 to 100 against this team, knowing that he could have the strikeout opportunities at 7,900, I'm in. I have to play him, I think.
I hate the price tag. I just want to say that. I like the matchup against the Mariners. I believe in Jordan Wicks as a talent. Obviously, as a Cubs fan, maybe I'm a little bit biased there, but I believe this guy's going to be really good. The changeup is going to play at the major league level. He doesn't throw a blazing fastball by any means, but he has a couple of above average pitches. The changeup is well above average, bordering on elite. So I think he's going to rack up strikeouts eventually. The 100 pitches concerns me. And I think the Cubs are doing this like they don't want him to throw 100 pitches. I can tell you that right now. The Cubs are just depleted in the rotation. They lost Justin Steele. Jamison Taillon got hurt in spring training. They're running out this piggyback situation with Ben Brown and Drew Smyly. So the Cubs rotation is in shambles kind of right now. They need length out of Jordan Wicks. And even though he threw 100 pitches, he only went 4 2/3. It was against the Dodgers. So like you mentioned, 2 really tough matchups. He's given a great account of himself. I'm torn because I feel like he should be 6,900 in the spot instead of 7,900, but I believe in the talent and I like the matchup. So I don't, if he's going to be 6% owned, I'll take some shots, but I don't necessarily love the price tag. Not sure how much the upside there is. And I don't know that I trust the 100 pitch mark if we're going to see that again. I think they'd like to keep him around that 85 to 90 mark, which is enough for him to get it done. Like he could still rack up 7-8 strikeouts in that, no problem. But
yeah. And Keith, I know we're like slightly over time. We have to set a big slate.
12 games, man. Yep.
Yeah. But listen, I had to pour one out for Justin Steele when I saw him go down to spring training. I was like hurt because I wanted to see him pitch this season. Like, look, I'm a Braves fan,
so fun,
but I'm actually a baseball fan too. Like, and so he was one of the guys I was excited about seeing him come out and kick off the season. And he got hurt in spring training. I think at first inning, some weird. I was like, oh
yeah,
no,
he was fielding a ground ball, came off the mound and threw it weird to first base and landed and
it gone.
Pulled his hamstring. Yeah, so
yeah,
he's going to miss a month or 2 here. Obviously, as a Cubs fan, that one hurt. Shane Bieber was that guy for me. I was really excited about Shane Bieber this season.
Yeah,
thought he made some great improvements in the offseason, and unfortunately, he's having Tommy John. Going to be much longer absence for Shane Bieber, but hate pitcher injuries, man. I love watching these guys do their things, and pitcher injuries to talented guys like that they're no fun at all. All right, bats on the other side here. We'll start with the Cubs side. Any interest in the Cubs bats against Bryce Miller here?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to play the Cubs. I don't mind one-offs. So obviously you can always play Bellinger. You know, he's a guy that, you know, I'm not saying the power is going to be elite every season, but I think he's got enough. Ian Happ, while he does strike out, he's probably going to lead off today, I would assume. At 4,600, I don't hate that. But once again, I don't want to stack the Cubs, but I don't mind some of these mini stacks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have a lot of confidence in Bryce Miller as a starting pitcher. I think this Cubs offense is tough to get through, so I don't necessarily want to play him. But I don't want to stack the Cubs either. I'd be chasing home runs here.
Yeah.
Love the names you laid out there, Bellinger and Happ. I'll add Morel.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. Definitely not stacking them against Miller. Mariners on the other side?
Nope. I'm actually not playing any Mariners. I think Wick should have a good night here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you there. I do think Wicks is on his way to being a great starting pitcher. I do think there's some control problems still. So, like, if I was building 20 lineups, I wouldn't hate 1 or 2 Mariners stacks. Definitely not going to be a top target on the slate for me, but I don't know that Wicks is a guy I necessarily want to target for home runs either, especially in this park. If we had winds blown out in Wrigley, it'd be a completely different story. Wicks does give up a pretty high rate of fly balls, but I don't think this is a spot I'm stacking Mariners against him. All right, final game of the evening. we have the San Diego Padres at the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dodgers big minus 200 favorites here, 8.5 total in this game. Pitching matchup, we have Yamamoto taking on Michael King. Any interest here in Yamamoto? Finally had a pretty good start here after a slow start to his major league career.
Yeah. See, it's a weird situation for me. I think I'm going to let Yamamoto sit on the shelf today. I just think I don't need him, Keith. Like, while San Diego seems to not be able to drive the runs home, he shouldn't be able to pick up as many strikeouts against him as he's been able to. And obviously, I know he got 8 against the Cubs, but I don't see it, man. I don't think he's able to really pile up the strikeouts today. San Diego's a fairly low strikeout team, so I'm fading Yamamoto today.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one because it is a tough matchup. Even though San Diego can be really frustrating as an offense, we kind of touched on that earlier. But yeah, I think there's a chance that Yamamoto is just a truly elite pitcher, and every start that we see from here is just going to continue to get better and better. And eventually, we're going to be saying matchup doesn't matter, similar to like Garrett Cole at his peak or Kevin Gausman even at his peak. But that's the decision point for me. Do I trust Gausman to be good after a slow start to the season? And can Peralta keep down a really tough Orioles matchup? If I think both of those things are true, then I probably don't need Yamamoto. I'm with you. I don't love the matchup. I'm leaning that I might be on Yamamoto over Peralta, but that's super, super close for me, and I'm not sold on that. They're two really good pitchers in two difficult matchups. So I think either of them could dominate in this outing, and it would not surprise me, but not the best spot. So Yamamoto could be an elite strikeout pitcher. We just don't know is kind of what I'm leaning into. And I'll play that by ownership too. If he's highly owned, then I don't need him. But if he's coming in at like 10, 15% because everybody's playing Gausman, then I'll lean into some Yamamoto, I think.
Yeah.
Bats in this game here, San Diego against Yamamoto.
Yeah, I'm not playing San Diego bats today, Keith. I'm gonna spare myself the disappointment.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Yamamoto certainly had his troubles, and maybe those show up again. But like I said, I think it's just a comfort thing. Obviously, the guy uprooted his entire life to come overseas and join Major League Baseball. Now that we've seen a couple of good starts from him, I feel pretty good. He's going to continue to roll. So I'm not trying to pick on him in the spot. Dodgers bats against Michael King.
Yeah, but just pure stack situation for me. Like, Freddie Freeman started the season. He's still fairly low. Now, listen, the Dodgers are actually striking out a lot more than people think to start the season. So I don't want to paint this like the Dodgers just out here, with low strikeouts. But the difference between the Dodgers and other teams are, while they're striking out, they can still score 8 runs. That's the difference. They might strike out and they get 3 home runs, three solo shots, and then they get a couple RBI doubles, and all of a sudden things have ballooned out of control. So I think you stack the Dodgers. They're one of those everyday teams for me, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, they're an everyday team for me. I didn't mean to skip over Michael King. I forgot to ask if you had any interest there.
No.
I didn't figure, but thought I'd double check on it. Yeah, the Dodgers are not like a top 3 stack for me on this slate, but like you said right there, like every time they're on the slate, you need to have at least one if you're playing multiple lineups, just because of their upside. I'm actually thinking Michael King can take a step forward this year. Haven't seen it in the results necessarily this season, but I was encouraged by some of the stuff that he did in New York. I think there's some strikeout stuff underlying. He's just having a little bit of trouble unlocking it as a starter, but out of the bullpen with the Yankees, this guy was nasty. So hoping that translates to his starting role here. Excited to see him as a full-time starter for San Diego, but no chance I'm playing him here against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are definitely in my pool as teams to stack today. All right. That will do it. We did it. 12 baseball games. Ooh. We covered them all. Let's go ahead and jump over to the morning grind game here. Give me a pitcher Under 8,000 on DraftKings. This is DraftKings salaries to go for 6 strikeouts today.
Man, listen, I'm going to go with, I think, my favorite cheap pitcher, which is Luis Severino, 6,800. I think the strikeout stuff is back, man. Give it to me.
I like it. I am going to go Brandon Pfaadt here, 7,500. Love the price tag here. St. Louis has been really struggling to start the season. I think he has a very good outing here today. Give me a pitcher over 8,000 to score under 15 DraftKings points. Who's your bust today?
I got 2. I'm not going to go with my homer. I really want to choose Max Fried today, man, because he's been so bad. I'm going to go with the guy that I think is having real serious control issues against a low strikeout team, and that's going to be Andrew Abbott, and facing the White Sox, who I think are a little bit underrated for this season. Give me Abbott at 8,200.
I'm going to be curious to see what your take looks like or how that take plays out for you, because I'm struggling to see that White Sox offense. But I had two written down here because I thought you might take the first one. You kind of hinted at it. Max Fried was one of them that I had. The second was my backup. Trevor Rogers is probably getting smashed here today against the Braves.
How are you taking a pitcher against the White Sox?
I was shocked when you fired that takeoff here earlier in the show. Welcome aboard, Steve.
You'll find out real soon.
Hold on. Did you? I take a night off. You don't hit the over on mutes. Good to know that you only do that with me. And then you're sitting here fading a pitcher against the White. I don't even know what the pitcher's name was, but you said you're fading a pitcher against the White Sox.
Andrew Abbott.
Okay, Abbott's a good pitcher, though.
We'll find out real soon.
Oh, all right. Well, you guys keep playing the game. I just wanted to mess with Will for fading a pitcher. I just wanted to say hi, chat. Hope everyone's great. Appreciate you guys filling in for me, and hurry up so I can edit the end of the show.
Wrapping up now, sir. Stevie with the guest appearance on his own show. You gotta love it. All right. Next question here. Give me somebody who's hitting homer today over 4,000.
Of course, Seager, man. That's my guy today. Love him against JP France. Sign me up.
Yeah, I love that call. I'm right there with you. I'm gonna go Austin Riley against the lefty. Dude's crushed lefties his entire career. Love the price tag at 5,400 as well. Give me a hitter under 4,000 to get 2 hits today.
I almost was going to stay in the same game. Not going to do that. I am going to give me Orlando Arcia against Rogers.
Yeah, crushed lefties last year. Love that call. I'm going to go Will Benson. Guy struggled with strikeouts, but he gets a really low strikeout pitcher today. I like this guy's talent. If he can cut down the strikeouts, he's got a power and speed profile that really plays. 3,800 Will Benson against Flexen today. Give me a stack to score 6 runs.
Oh, so many options today, Keith. So many options. I'm not going with my hometown Braves. I'll save them for you. I'm going to go with the team that I never get right. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. Feltner better give up these runs. Give me the Blue Jays against Feltner today.
Yeah, as soon as you said the team you never get right, I knew that's where you were going. I think Atlanta is a phenomenal play as well. I'm right there with you. I will go up somewhat up. They're not going to be off the board, but Texas has been absolutely brutal the last couple of days. Been playing a ton of them, and it just hasn't worked out. I think they get right here in their trip to Houston. So give me the Rangers.
Yep, love it.
All right. There were almost no props up when we jumped on the show. Were you able to find anything out there on one of those? I know you're on like all those other alternate fantasy sites and things like that. Any numbers hanging out there you like?
They haven't. They've got Dunning at 5 strikeouts, which means he's either at 5.5 or 4.5. I haven't looked at the books yet. Honestly, man, I think a favorite strikeout prop of mine is probably going to be Tariq Skubal today, even though we didn't talk about him on this show.
Not on the slate. Love it.
Yeah, he's facing Minnesota. Like, whatever his prop is, it's either 6.5 or 7.5. Just take the over. I don't see him not hitting this number against Minnesota today.
It's 6.5 on DraftKings right now where I'm looking, but it is juiced to minus 145. I'm with you. I don't hate going to an alternate 7.5 and hitting the over there at plus money. I'd be fine with that. This is an awesome spot for Treat Schoolball. Love that call. That was one of the few that was up before we jumped on. Now it looks like they're all up. I'm just taking a quick look through here. Jordan Wicks is sitting at 4.5, but it's juiced to minus 155. I'd like the over there. I don't like the juice. We wanted Irvin at 4.5. He's sitting at 5.5 even money. I'll consider that one. Yamamoto is 4.5.
Yeah,
only minus 125 to the over. That's too low. He should be 5.5.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I'll be writing up Yamamoto tonight. Fod is at 6.5 plus money on the over, but I was hoping to get 5.5 for Fod.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to have strong conviction on these when we didn't get. I mean, I'm looking at them live for the first time right now, but
yeah. And I do think Severino is 5.5 at plus money. I'm probably going to take that one. I might not write it up, but I am going to take it.
All right. Good stuff, man. Great show. A little bit long, but we had 12 games to get through. So appreciate you joining me. Anything else to add before we get out of here for the weekend?
Negative, man. Enjoy your weekend. Good to see you, brother. We'll meet at the top of whatever we got going on Sunday, because it's going to be a busy day.
All right. Let's do it. Stevie will be back on Monday, of course. For Will, I was Keith. Thanks for watching, everyone.